look at imperialism and how the United States became a world power. For this, we're going to focus on the time period of 1890 to around 1914. While we do this, please click into your Week 17 Tuesday and Wednesday folder. You will find Imperialism Makes the U.S. a World Power right here. This assignment, click right into there, and it will be the notes that correlate with this PowerPoint. As we're going through the PowerPoint, please only write in what you see in red. Anything in blue or black ink will be already written on the paper for you. So United States become a world power. Before we talk about that, I really want to define foreign policy. A foreign policy is the way that the laws and the regulations that a country deals with other countries. So basically anything that lies outside of that foreign nation. America leading up to 1890s was an isolationism policy. If you look at isolationism, that root word isolation, this means that the United States stays out of other countries' problems or issues, completely out of it. It is wrong to invade other countries, and this is that policy that they believe in. On the other hand, American foreign policy after 1819 is imperialism. The policy of the United States gaining control over the land and using them to gain an empire. American borders already stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. America also bought Alaska from Russia, so it was now time for us to look overseas. There are three causes of us finding land overseas. First is economic, the second is military, and the third is ideological. Now we'll break them down. Economic. Economically, we wanted to expand our business interests. New markets enabled people to trade, more people for us to trade with. Raw resources came from those areas to create our products that we are selling in those new markets. And companies built overseas factories. Many of those factories had very cheap labor. Next is military interests. International competitions for colonies came out full force this time, and we were afraid that we would be left behind. American security was extremely important. As we were building our power, other countries saw us as a threat, so we wanted to increase our security. Part of this was increasing our Navy. Our Navy actually became what was known as the Great White Fleet. And internationally, our Navy needed coaling ports and stopping ports, and this was beneficial to have military bases spread out throughout the world. The next is ideological. There are three pieces to this. First is social Darwinism. Social Darwinism can also be seen as a white supremacy. The U.S. must expand to survive. This is that ideal that they held. They had this idea of superiority and that they must spread this civilized superiority. Next was spreading Christianity. Just like social Darwinism, spreading Christianity was all about bringing values to the quote-unquote backwards or uncivilized people. People who wanted to spread Christianity believed that all nations and all people throughout the world should be Christian. Finally, since the Americans' frontier had closed, once again, the East Coast to the West Coast, U.S. pioneer spirit started looking overseas, and it was basically we need to expand or we're going to explode. Okay, these were the three ideological expansion causes. All right, in 1900s, these are the colonial claims that we have here. You can take a quick look at this picture and you can see that much of the world has been taken by European countries or are already independent sovereign nations. So looking at this, what do you think is the correct or is the next area that we are going to? If in your head you said something about Asia or China, that is correct. We are going to focus our sights on Asia. So this slide is, you do not need to write anything on your paper. However, I do want to mention that Japan at this time started off as a very isolated and unindustrialized society until the mid-1800s. This is when they started building up their navy, and they quickly became an industrial and military power, especially once their trade ports opened to others. Right? So this is a very specific piece here because the Japanese and Japan will become a signifying factor in the world wars coming up. Additionally, there were quite a few questions yesterday about Hawaii and our acquisition of Hawaii. So I wanted to just mention this here. The Port of Pearl Harbor in Hawaii was perfect location. If you take a look, it is directly in between the United States and the Philippines, making it a perfect shipping and transportation and military base for the United States. The planters and U.S. Marines wanted this so much that they actually overthrew the Hawaiian Queen, and America annexed Hawaii. There was lots of hatred towards Americans in Hawaii, and there still to this day are some reservations about America owning Hawaii and Hawaii being a part of America. All right, so we're looking towards China. We create this open door policy. Open door policy was caused by China being very weak and having little industry. So the European countries came in and wanted to divide China up into pieces for each other. But instead, the US and Great Britain asked Chinese leaders to make an open door policy for trade. So think about, if you look at the picture, think about an open door. An open door, anybody can come in and out. A closed door, nobody can come in and out. So with the door open, any country can trade with China. If you see this here, the door is open, so any of these nations on the outside can trade with China. Okay? The results of this was that all nations got equal trading access. Part of our reason for this was that we did not want to get shut out of China. And fortunately, for China, they were not taken over by any specific individual country until much later on, and that is something you'll get to in the following years in U.S. history. All right, the Treaty of Paris, end of the Spanish-American War. We talked about this yesterday, but I just wanted to once again talk about the strategic military positions that Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines ended up giving America. If you take a look at all of our possessions at the time, they expand all across the Pacific Ocean, and they give us a very, very important position in the world that we are able really to go anywhere we want to within a matter of a couple of hours. Okay, so after we acquired the Philippines, we weren't sure what to do. We had three options. We could give the island back to Spain. We could leave the island and not give them any help. Or we could annex it and have it become a territory of the United States. The Filipinos wanted independence, naturally. They led a rebellion against the U.S. We sent thousands of troops. Both sides committed atrocities. And the result was that the fighting lasted for many years. Many Americans and Filipinos were killed, and they were not granted independence until 1946. On your paper, I have the question, how is this rebellion hypocritical of the U.S.? Think about our rebellion, our war for independence. They fought in a war for independence against us. We did not give them their independence. How is this hypocritical of us? Why is this hypocritical of us? I'm going to give you a minute here. You can pause the video to answer this question. Roosevelt's foreign policy, carrying a big stick. Roosevelt's corollary in 1904 was also known as speak softly and carry a big stick. His idea was a preventative intervention. Basically, he stated that the U.S. would intervene in Latin America to keep European powers out of the Western Hemisphere. If you take a look, speak softly, carry a big stick. Basically, be able to defend yourself. Be ready to defend yourself with something that everybody can see. But don't parade around and tell them that you can beat them. If you take a look at this political cartoon on the left-hand side here, you see this is Teddy Roosevelt, and he is parading around showing our nice little military here, showing everything that we have, all of this power that we have, in order to keep Europe out of our Western Hemisphere. He's carrying his big stick, once again, power, the ability to overtake and the ability to beat in some sort of implications. He is not speaking and screaming over to Europe. He's not saying, Europe will beat you. Europe, we're more powerful than you. Europe, we're better than you. He's just parading around and saying, nope, I'm not going to, but I'm going to show you. I have the Navy. I can do this. I have that big stick. I am more powerful than you, but you can only see it. I'm not going to tell you. This is that idea. Don't parade it around. Don't tell everybody that you are better or more powerful or more apt at war, but be ready for it and make sure that others know you're ready for it. Just don't go around and say it. And these results basically justify everything that we do as a nation for the next 30 years. Throughout those 30 years, we are sent down to Latin American countries time and time again to help protect them from European nations. Now, not all of them were positive for the individuals living in those countries, and many of those countries viewed this as an American oppression in and of itself. So our perspective was that we were helping them and it was justified. However, their interpretation was that we came in and did what we wanted to do and basically ignored their wills and their wishes. So right now, take a quick minute, pause this video to answer the question on your corresponding worksheet. What was speak softly and carry a big stick really about in your own words? Next, you're going to finish your political cartoon interpretation. This isn't due until Thursday, so you do have all day Wednesday. You will not be getting another assignment on Wednesday, just this. If you go back into your week 17 Tuesday, Wednesday folder, you'll see pictures for political cartoon interpretation. There are 4 pictures. Please only pick 3. I'm going to say that again. Please only pick 3. You are going to fill out the same diagram we've been using for political cartoons. Notice the visual textual elements have been combined into one section, so they are no longer separated, but you are still looking for both of them individually in each cartoon. Additionally, each of these cartoons portray imperialism in either Africa or China. I want you to tell me, according to this message here, was it positive or negative? Is it saying that imperialism is a good thing, or is it saying imperialism is a bad thing? And then explain it to me. Why is it showing that? What part of the political cartoon makes you think that it's a positive message or a negative message within the elements that you're looking at? And that is it for today.